Okay, next question is to do with the diagram shows parts of a curve. It has the equation y equals fx. So there's some sort of function that that's been graphed here. The graph just shows a nice graph. Okay, and it says the coordinates of the minimum point. So minimum point on the curve, the lowest point on the curve, is 3 minus 4. We have that here. Here's our point that we're looking at, 3 minus 4. Write down the coordinates of the minimum point. So where does this point move to? Okay, when we apply some changes. Okay, so I have done a tutorial on this on my half-an-hour GCSE revision video, and if you haven't seen the last part of that, you should go and watch it, because I talk about this topic as a game that we have to play, and the letters fx. So when we see fx in the question, so when we get this type of question, we're thinking about effects. It's like the word effects. So we're going to affect the point. We're going to do things that affect where this point ends up. All right. And the only two rules that you have to remember are: if the instruction is inside the bracket, it only affects the x coordinate, but you must do the opposite to what it's telling you to do. If it's outside the instruction, outside the brackets, then it only affects the y. So let's have a look at our first instruction. It says plus 3. Now, is it inside or outside the bracket? Well, it's outside the bracket, so it's only going to affect the y value. And if it's outside the bracket, we just do what it says. We just literally add 3 to the y part of our coordinate. So our original coordinate is 3 minus 4. And it's x first, then y along the corridor up the stairs. And all we've got to do is add 3 to the y part. So the answer would be, the x is not affected, so that's 3, and then add 3 to minus 4, and we get minus 1. So if you remember these two rules, these questions can be quite straightforward. The next one, so we've got a 2x in the bracket. So it's inside the bracket, which means it only affects the x part of the coordinate, and we must do the opposite to what it's telling us to do. Well, it's telling us to do 2 times x. So all we need to do is divide by 2. So let's write down our original coordinate again. So we've got 3 minus 4. We're only affecting the x part, and we're doing the opposite to what it says. We're dividing 3 by 2. So our new coordinate will be 3 divided by 2 minus 4. Now, some of you may not like writing your answers as fractions, but it's perfectly acceptable to do that. You might want to put down 1.5 as you prefer to write them as decimals. Either way is fine. And the last one, this is the more interesting one here. We've just got a minus inside the bracket. So the minus is telling us that, yes, it's inside the bracket, so it will affect the x coordinate. What is it going to do to the x coordinate? Well, if you were to think about this as you're going to make the x value times by minus 1, which means basically if you times something by minus 1 or divide it by minus 1, as we're doing the opposite, then all that will do is will change the sign. It will just change the sign. So all the positive numbers become negative, and all the negative numbers will become positive. So let's look at our original point. We've got 3 minus 4. And if we look at this and we say, right, well, what's going to happen to our x value? Well, dividing it by minus 1 and following the rules to the game just means we change the sign of it. So it would just become minus 3 minus 4. Okay?